I was in a call. It's not something I'm proud of in any way. There's just a lot of extremity in that. Just because I'm here, colorful. And I don't want to recommend anything in my past as a pathway for anybody to find meaning. There's no strategic thinking in how I evolved. Providence just saved me.
They say success isn't an accident, it's a blueprint. And today we're learning from the architect. He's more than a speaker. He's a catalyst, a global force in leadership who has spent decades refining the art of human capital. From boardroom strategies to national transformations, he has stood as a pillar for those who build and a guide for those who lead. He's a builder of people, a strategist for nations, and a voice that resonates across borders. You've seen the work, you know the name, and if you ever felt the shift in the room when he speaks, you definitely know the impact. This is Olakunle Shoriyan on the Open Up podcast.
You can understand that there's no classification for light without darkness. There's no reference for good without evil. It's the validity of darkness that gives relevance to light.
Open Up Podcast Season 3 Global Edition is brought to you by Dara.
Good evening, PK.
Good evening.
Honestly, I'm super excited that you're here. I feel like after this interview comes out, you know, when I introduce myself to people, I'm like, oh, I've interviewed PK. Have you? Good to have you here.
Good to be here. I'm excited.
And honestly, it means a lot to me. And I'm not just saying that because your presence is honorable. I'm saying it because going back to our only conversation on Instagram. We don't chat like that, so I'm just fancying. But like my very first episode of the Open Up Podcast Season 2 with our very first guest, I got a DM from PK. And PK said, your light is going global and it's only time will reveal it, and all other kinds of things there. And I took that word literally. I took it as a prophecy and I took it as a word. Interestingly enough, I had booked my ticket to Dubai and UK, but for vacation. I said, PK can't talk, say, the thing is global. We are shooting.
Yes, let's go.
And so this season 3, we shot 8 guests in both Dubai and in the UK.
Wow.
And I will have to say that seed started with your DM. So when I reached out and I was like, I wanted you to be the season closer, it was because it was a come and see that I'm telling the testimony of what has happened. So I don't typically share at the beginning of, you know, the episodes you guys already know, but I needed to share that this PK was very instrumental to season 3 being happening and, you know, it just being present and materializing. So anyways, enough about me. I'm jumping straight into you.
Let's
PK,
go.
your story. I don't even know where to start from, but I just think I'm just going to start from the very beginning.
Yes.
I'm reading that you, correct me if I'm wrong anyway, please.
Let's go.
That you are the 11th out of 13 children. Is that true?
Yes, I'm the 11th out of 13.
How was that like?
Well, you know, it's a polygamous home, 2 wives. I'm not one of those people with clear remembrance of my growing up because I think it was too complex. My memory wanted to forget about it very quickly. I was in the boarding house at the age of 3.
Wow.
Nobody gets to be in the boarding house at the age of 3.
That's a baby.
I was still weaned. So I spent most of my life as a young boy growing up in the boarding house and growing up with seniors and, you know, adults everywhere. So it was a lot. Polygamous home in itself is very complex, you know. You are living with people who carry your last name, but who also represent some form of adversarial representation because of the default conditioning of competition between the first wife and the second wife. My mom was the second wife, like the side chick kind of, you know. So got into the space and interrupted the other that the other side are used to. So the war is pretty much justifiable. And so it was a lot. You learn to compete very early. You suspect everybody because the assumption is that somebody is trying to
Someone's
get
out
you
to get you.
in a polygamous home. Even if your parents don't tell you, people outside tell you. It's just the culture, right? And there were a lot of fights.
This right here, this is the life we signed up for. Not just any life, a life that moves how we move. While everyone else is stressing about money problems, we're living on our own terms. This is the life that keeps us one step ahead.
Bye, guys.
Where we can enjoy and live in the moment. Why? Because it's our rules, our fun.
Hey, baby girl.
Hey, big head. Don't forget to get that laptop with your credit limit before it expires. Oh.
Ha, how can I?
This is freedom. This is flex without the stress. This is soft life. This is Credit Direct. Download the Credit Direct app now and start living the soft life for real.
One of the biggest challenge, though, for me was growing up with a lot of distrust because it's too much for a child to have siblings in your house who carry your last name, but who you still have to be guided with. You know, as a child, that's too much. And when you grow up with that kind of mentality, you just become almost incapable of trusting anyone because you couldn't even trust the people who carry your last name, right? And then again, your mom wants you to be first in class. I say that every time. But because being first brings some kind of
Rivalry.
attention from your dad and resources to your side. Not necessarily because of the ideal of excellence. And by the time you become an adult, you just find yourself pursuing the loftiest things in life for the wrong reasons, right? So that's what it was. I also took away a lot of fortitude and grit. You know, growing up with so much complexity allows you to stay in them and to find tranquility and meaning in complexity. So that is working for me right now as well because I'm immovable on many levels. I'm not perturbed by what disturbs a lot of people, right? And I guess I was born into that kind of situation. So I wouldn't say it was a testimony, but there's no way I would be this Olakunle Shoriyan, by the way, without that. It's not something that, yeah, maybe if I'm from a normal a monogamous home, only God knows who I will become, but I won't become this person. So I'm grateful.
We're grateful for you too. Would you say that, I mean, we're talking about it from a looking back, even though we're in the future, and so you're looking at it from good and bad, so fortitude, grit. But I know that you had a tough time in university and you were even a gang leader?
I was in a cult.
A cultist?
I was in a cult.
Or you were in a cult? Okay.
I was in a cult. And, you know, it's not something I'm proud of in any way because there's just a lot of extremity in that. I actually try not to give too much details about that just because I'm here, colorful. And I don't want to recommend anything in my past as a pathway for anybody to find meaning. There's no strategic thinking in how I evolved. Providence just saved me, right? So when I'm talking about my past, I'm very guarded. At least I recommend it to any young person trying to say, well, he did that and here he is. So I did that. People who did that don't land here. They are in jail, they are been shot, or they are taking medication in the psychiatric home, right? That is what I was sure I would be by the time I was 30. There was a time in my life I was pretty sure if I'm not shot by age 30, I will be in jail or I will be sick somewhere. But I escaped all of them out of sheer providence. So, but yeah, I tasted everything from chewing gum to cocaine. I never smoked in my life. I never smoked cigarette. I never drank alcohol. I figured at the time the turmoil in my life, all those were too light for the wildness that was going on in my head, for the turmoil that was going on in my head. So we're doing grass and above, all kinds of things, just tasting all kinds of things as a young person. Yeah, found myself in a cult. Not that I was intentionally. I felt I needed that kind of backing for who I was at the time. I was in school for 12 years.
Yeah.
I was trying to graduate for 12 years. My first semester, I had like 9 carryovers. By the end of first year, I had like 13 carryovers. By the time I was in 400 level, only God knows, maybe over 50 carryovers. I don't even know. I was failing. So there was no way I was going to get out of school. My nuisance value at the time had increased so much that I wasn't communicating any form of normalcy anymore. At the time, I couldn't talk this way. I salivate. I wouldn't even know.
Oh, wow.
It was really bad. But like I said, I had a spiritual encounter that changed everything. And my life moved from left to right.
Before we move to your spiritual encounter, because I'm going right there, what I want to know is looking back at all the turmoil that you were facing in those 12 years, and even for you to even say you're tasting from chewing gum to cookie, something must have been affecting you. If you were to summarize what was making it hard for you to pass those courses, what was that? Was that maybe some sort of depression or anxiety or stress? Or
looking back now, I don't think it was depression. I think it was my program at the time. There's something called your hidden scripts and your habit of thinking. Everyone is born innocent, but you are innocent for only 1 second. Once you are born innocent, but you are innocent for 1 second. A second after you are born, you become a victim. What makes you a victim? Because you fell into the hands of adults, doctors, nurses, parents, siblings, domestic help, chauffeur, billboards, movies, novels. Nobody's self-made. We're all products of influences. And in your state as a victim, you were being taught by adults. The novels, the comics, the movies, the billboards, everything, your teachers in school, your siblings, your family members, your neighborhood, everybody's teaching you. You are too young to audit what they are pouring into you. How much more to resist it. So you are taking everything they are teaching you, right or wrong. If your parents were wise, you have a high propensity to turn out wise.
to succeed.
If your parents were fools, you have a high propensity to become a fool because they just sincerely pour what they know into you. Now, a victim, a poor person, and a slave are all the same because the three of them have no control over their necessary due human experiences.
Okay.
When you are poor, you can't have what you want, you can't eat what you want, you can't go where you want, you can't afford what you want, right? When you are a slave, somebody tells you where to go, what to do, how to do it, with whom to do it. You're not in control. When you are a victim, somebody is, raping somebody, you are not in control of your necessary due human experiences. And so in that state of a victim, you are not in control of your necessary due human experiences. You are poor on many levels, and that's not the absence of money. As a matter of fact, some people are so poor, all they have is money. So that's not the absence of money. That's just a state of being where you are not in control of your necessary due human experiences. So you are a slave, poor, victim, all at the same time, because adults are in control of your life. it is in that state that your preferences are being defined. So your dad was tall, your mom was tall, your two sisters dated tall guys, you like tall guys. There's nothing wrong with tall people. That's just how you picked it up. Those are your preference. You were reading in a noisy place. Your daddy came and said, you can't read, bless you. You can't read in a noisy place and understand. If you want to read, you need tranquility. Now that's not true, right? For everybody. But that's true for your dad.
Okay.
So he's recommending his peculiar experience as a principle and a standard for you. You believe that, and from that day, you prefer
Make it your
to read in a quiet place, right? So your favorite color, a lot of things that you picked up like that, the moment you gain independence of choice, that you are moving away, maybe you get admission to a campus and you're going to be away from the authority figures of your life for the first time, all your preferences are converted to prejudices. So from I like to read in a quiet place, preference, to I can never read in a noisy place, prejudice.
Okay.
From I like tall people, tall guys, preference, to I can never marry a short person, prejudice.
Okay.
What is prejudice? Prejudice, conclusion without justifiable explanation. Like, I'm white, I'm better than you because you are black. That's not true. There are black people who hire white people. But I say because I'm white, I'm better than you. So in the same way, if you don't like tall people, you can't marry a tall person, a short person. Why? Is it that short people don't know how to make money, or they don't know how to have sex, or what is wrong with them? Nothing. But your exposure, your experiences has shifted you from a state of normalcy to an abnormal one, in that all your preferences are converted to prejudices. Now that's your program. In that prejudice state is where you define your personality. So when people ask you, who are you? You don't answer that question. The question you really answer is, who have you become? Because the last time you were yourself was when you were innocent and you never met that guy. So you don't know who you are, really. You know who you have become. And your victim state, your preference and prejudice state has produced the person that you are now. So when people say, oh, I can't do this, this is what I am. Oh, I can't read that, I can't study that. Oh, I don't hang with those kind of people. Who is that high? You know, who is that? That's not me. Who is that me? Right? Because you've never met me. You've never met that I. The real I was hijacked by your victim state, your preference state, and your prejudice state, right? So there has to be a kind of introduction between who you have become and who you were really born to be. The problem is, even if you meet who you were, you will recognize that person because you never met. By the time you are old enough to really know who you are, you have been compromised by the victim state, by the preference state, and the prejudice state. And it is in that state that you form what is called your programs, what is called your habit of thinking, what is called your hidden scripts. Now, people don't marry, their programs marry. People don't go for interviews, their programs go for interviews. People don't choose friends, their programs choose friends. People don't choose neighborhood, their programs made that choice. People don't choose their fashion, they don't choose their style. Your programs choose your style. People don't do business, your programs do business. People don't choose friends, your programs choose friends. Your programs live on your behalf. And there's no such thing as a good program or a bad program. There's programs, so that they are working for you or they are working against you. If they are working against you, then you need to unlock that and you need to uncover that program and know how to uninstall it. But for so many people, you know, they are in the jail of their programs. And what programs does is that they eliminate your options. They tell you, this is the only way to do it. So you can date 16 people, but you are dating the same person with different names from different regions, because your programs will always tell you, this is how you make this decision. That is, every time you come to this decision, this is how you are going to make it. Your programs will always sabotage you. And that is what people try to call generational curses, because your granddad does not know how to lead and wasn't agentic. He put that program in your dad, who doesn't know how to lead and is not agentic. And now you don't know how to lead and you're not agentic. Or everybody ate sugar, people didn't exercise, they didn't take care of their body. Somehow at 55, your granddad went, installed that program into your dad. He managed the same lifestyle. At 54, he went. Now you're on sick bed again, diabetic. You're about to die and you're 56. Now they say, oh, there's something that comes to kill the men. It's more of generational attitude. It's more of a generational program than a curse, right? And so for me, I had grown up in a type of influence in the boarding house. I went to a very lousy boarding house where terrible habits were formed. My siblings didn't have the problem that I have. My siblings did very well in school. They were all high flyers. They all, because they grew up with the right influence. So
Okay.
in the same home, but I grew up with the wrong influence. And, my program was that I should avoid anything that is mentally rigorous. Because I got away with everything. Now, for the purpose, for the audience sake, let me try and zero in on this. So there are programs about everything. There are programs about sex, about money, about construction, about building, about marketing. There's program about marriage. There's programs about everything, right? So, you have a dad who consistently, when he's faced with a noble need, he either sells his property or he borrows. Sells and he borrows. Sells and he borrows. He's dead 20 years ago. Now you are in your own dynasty. You are married, you run into a financial crisis, and before you know it, you are doing the same thing, selling your property or borrowing, selling a property or borrowing. Now you may think that's random, but that's something that was installed, right, from your dad to you. And that continues at different levels. A lot of what people find themselves doing, particularly the experiences that weaken them, right, are usually, when you go close to it, a program that was successfully installed and carried over from one generation to the other. Now, there are also programs that work for you. If you were born into the Bill Gates family, you probably will know how to succeed.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you know how to handle a marriage, but you can know how to make money, right? So, like I said, there's no such thing as a bad program or a good programs. There are programs that they are working for you, and if you are not getting the results that you want to get,
Uninstall
and you are
it.
not able to take yourself to where you believe you deserve, it's good to sit down to consider that there may be a script that is in play, and you need to undo that, uncover that, and uninstall that program.
Is that what happened in 1995?
Yeah. So in 1995, October 25, I had a spiritual encounter, and part of the spiritual experience actually is when, for example, you read a scripture in the Bible that says, all things have passed away, all things have become new. It is a very spiritual exchange where you actually get elevated from the program that have defined you to a completely different program, which is the spiritual program that you are receiving. So in my bedroom, I had a spiritual encounter, and I believe that I experienced an elevation. I didn't struggle to leave drugs. I didn't struggle. It was just that day that the whole addiction
Everything
ended.
changed.
Everything changed.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't go to church when that happened. It happened in my bedroom, like I said. And it wasn't anything. I remember that day I just got back home from a major disappointment. And I got to my bedroom and I was really tired of life. My mom came into the room. She was worried. I think she was crying, if I remember. She cursed a bit, justifiably so, because I always say that the kind of crisis I brought to my mom and to my family, in growing up, if she had even shot me, it would have been fair, to curse me was a gift as far as I'm concerned, right? But now we know that a curseless culture not stand, and every curse requires attitudinal cooperation for expression. So I defeated that. But she came in and she just said to me, if you can just begin to read the Bible. She has said that many times, but that day it made a different sense. And I still acted like she wasn't saying anything. But when she went out, my younger sister had a Bible, a New American Standard Version Bible on the table. I went for the Bible. As I picked it, it fell out of my hands. And when it landed, it opened to the book of Ecclesiastes. And I just knelt down. I just sat down by the Bible and started reading. And it was 12 chapters. And everything in Ecclesiastes is vanity upon vanity, vanity upon vanity. By the end of that chapter, I think it was a visitation. I was sure that life is not the way I'm living it. And I was sure that there's a higher way to interpret my journey than I have known. I was very clear about that. A peace I have never known, and I still know till today, visited me right there. It was as if I didn't have a chest anymore. I felt, and I needed that peace more than anything. I didn't care who brought it, whether it was Shango or Oromila or Muhammad or Jesus. It didn't matter who brought it. Whoever brought it will have locked my loyalty to date. It was Jesus that brought it. And I received that peace that day, gave my life to Christ, and started reading the Bible. That day I read Ecclesiastes like 12 times, right there in the room, just 12 chapters. And then I remember I stood up, packed a lot of my natives. At the time I had quite a lot of them. Went to the guy who used to sell a lot of things towards substance, because I was owing a lot of money at the joint as well. So I went there to say, will this cover my debts? And he said, oh yeah, to cover it. I gave everything to him and I told him, you will never see me again. I was that sure.
Wow.
You will never see me again. And I left. I saw him again years after when I was going to Christ Church to minister on a Sunday. This joint is like 5 minutes away from the church. So I'd traveled a day before and I was driving to church to go speak, to go minister. And I said, let me just wash my car at the car wash. I recognized that place, so I parked in there. But I didn't think the guy would still be there. But it was the site, we used to call him governor. And he came out to wash the car. And I saw him like, it was so beautiful because he didn't recognize me. But I recognized him. And I had a choice to introduce myself to him and let him know who I am, or to just let it go. I searched my spirit. I don't think he was ready for that revelation. So I didn't introduce myself. Giving me a lot of tip. He didn't understand why. But I left that place knowing that, wow, God is faithful, right? But October 25, 1995, I stepped into church for the first time, December 31st night, 1995, into the new year. And by that time, I read the Bible, Genesis to Revelation, right? I didn't have
In
any
a couple
job.
of months.
I was just reading and reading and reading. I read it over 40 times now, right?
Wow.
Yeah, 3 chapters a day, 5 on Sunday, you finish it every month, every year. 6 a day, 10 on Sunday, you finish it every 6 months. 12 a day, 20 on Sunday, you finish it every 3 months. So I've done that consistently. But by that encounter, I would say that I went mad. That's what I would say. And I've not recovered from that madness. The beauty is that the universe compensates anomalies. And that's how God has set it up. So that has defined my difference, my originality. I say to people every time that the world will not recognize you for your similarities. You'll be recognized for your difference. Your difference is your critical success factor, critical relevance factor, critical greatness factor, and critical legacy factor. So you have to be very bold to stand in the weight of your difference. A lot of people will not agree with the uniqueness of your journey, but I believe that if it occurs to you, it makes sense to you, and you can find 1 or 2 rebels who understand that journey. If you stay true to your difference, we always win, because similarities will weaken you. Every time you try to get with everybody, you weaken yourself. True strength comes from the audacity to be different. I call it creative rebellion. The truth that there's always something special inside of you that the mind of the majority cannot capture. And your commitment to that path is the uniqueness that will define your own relevance.
So when you say commitment to that path, and because I was going to ask you a couple of questions I already started answering, you found your difference. It was like your journey became very clear at that point. Maybe you didn't know what it will end at, but you knew that this is where I'm going to. But we're sitting here, 1995, 30 years later, and it's obvious to everybody that you're a huge success, both nationally, internationally, globally, and otherwise. But to somebody who has perhaps found this unique imprint or program that is different from what they grew up with, but they might not be seeing results, because nowadays in 2025 as a young person, it almost feels like they are like the formulas to success. Do you have this? Do you have that? Have you been able to tick that? If, for instance, this podcast, did you get 1 million views? You didn't get 1 million views, it's not successful. So how does a person know that they are actually, because if you commit to something for a long time, you don't see results, it can frustrate you. How do you know that you're actually in the right state? I don't even know how to put the question.
I think certainty is overrated.
Okay.
And the narratives out there communicating certainty in itself is a setup on its own. Right? The world is masterful in birthing confusion. Right? Confusion is not a psychological state. It's just the inability to take a decision in the face of options. Ignorant people cannot be confused. You can only be confused because you know what to do, but you know more than what to do, and you cannot settle on one.
Okay.
So what the global media does and the pop culture can do to you really is to multiply your interest. You know, I don't think ignorant people suffer as much as distracted people. And when you want to finish a visionary, just give him another vision, right? And part of what the world will do very well is to confuse you, where you have too many options, you can't settle on one. The refusal, the inability, or the unpreparedness to take a decision in the face of options, that's confusion. And a lot of people are confused. And part of what breeds confusion is the pursuit of certainty, right? You can't believe what you know. I'm not believing that I'm talking to you now. I know I'm talking to you, right? The world will tell you to believe, to believe, to believe. And the same world will tell you to be sure, to know, right? To be certain. That's a terrible anomaly. That's not possible. That's not practical. If I know, I can't believe. If I believe, then I shouldn't know, right? You can only believe what you don't know.
Yeah.
You cannot believe what you know. If I know that you are sitting here, then I'm not believing.
You don't need to believe it.
That I know that.
Yeah.
The moment I say I believe you are here, there must be something unclear about whether you are here or not. That is what validates my belief. So I can't hate doubt. Doubt will remain in your head every time. Belief is in your heart. Maturity is the ability to navigate the two together. Without doubt, you stand no chance for arriving in faith or in belief. Religion also teaches you to hate doubt. There's no scripture that says you should hate doubt. The scripture asks you to stay in faith. It said you call the things that be not uncertainty as though they were certainty, which is faith, which is belief. So if you don't recognize the unseen, the intangible, the unclear, the uncertain, you will never arrive at solid belief, right? So I tell people, don't be oppressed by the noise about belief. You have to, first of all, honor your own, embrace your own story, honor your journey, but above those two, you have to trust the future. Now, how do you trust the future? Everybody wants to trust the future by enacting, considering the possibility of seeing the future.
Okay.
The assumption, therefore, is that, today creates the future. Today can never create the future. The future creates today. And that's the missing link. Everybody think I can do something that will birth the future. No, the future births you. Think about it. The future is not practical. Nobody gets to be in the future. Every time you arrive in the future, you're going to call it today.
In the present.
The way that works is when you say good morning to somebody, you are in the morning. You are not imagining that you are in the morning. You are not believing that you are in the morning. You know you are in the morning. Everywhere is cool. When you say good afternoon to people, it's hot. You know you are in the afternoon. When you say good evening, everywhere is dark. Good night. There's darkness everywhere. If you say goodbye, somebody or all of us are living.
Yeah.
When you say good life, we must be breathing to say so. These are real kinetic functional experiences, right? You will never have the blessing or misfortune of saying good future, or like you say, good morning or good afternoon. You never say, good future, we are in the future. You will never say that because the future is not practical. The future is not real like your morning is real, like your afternoon is real. The future is an arrangement by God to keep hope meaningful, to keep belief intelligent, to keep enthusiasm alive, to keep optimism useful. In practical terms, you will never be in the future. Today was once a future. Yesterday was a future. The next 3 seconds is in the future. 1, 2, 3. We're in the future, right? So every time you arrive in the future, you're going to call it today. You're going to call it moment now.
Okay.
Yesterday was once a future, but yesterday is an experience now. Tomorrow is nothing but an idea. Today is your critical platform of exchange. So this is what I tell people. The future visits you. You don't create the future. The future visits you through your imagination. It visits you through your imagination and your impulse.
Okay.
And those two visit you through words and imagery, right? And when you start desiring, you are not just thinking. The Italian cannot wake up in the morning and feel like eating a dikaiko or keke. He can't because it's not in his context. Once it's in your context, it's within range automatically. And that's what the future does. So the future visits you. But your job is to host the future and give it residency in your life. And how do you do that? The future gives you connections through images. You accept it by honoring where you are. And this is what I say. Prevailing responsibility is the pathway to future meaning and future power. Faithfulness in little brings more. He that is faithful in little will get more. And so you have to relate to where you are. Vision is overrated. You don't need to see the future. You just need to honor where you are. If you honor where you are, God has designed the universe in such a way that it will gravitate towards you. Goodness and mercy shall not be before you to be pursued all the days of your life. Goodness and mercy are following you. They are gravitating towards you. So part of intelligence is to be able to appreciate your own story, whatever is in it, right? You will make mistakes. You cannot supply perfect behavior no matter who you are, no matter how hard you try. If today was perfect, tomorrow will be unnecessary. If the Garden of Eden was perfect, Satan will not be there.
Yeah.
If the Garden of Eden was perfect, it will not need tending by Adam. It will not need cultivation by Adam. If Adam was perfect, Eve will be unnecessary. All that is flawed is imperfect, but not all that is imperfect is flawed. The arrogance of the human condition is the pursuit of security, certainty, and perfection. All of these are nothing but an illusion. In your true, authentic humanity, you have to understand that you can't control everything. You can only master the experience you are having. So be diligent, faithful where you are. People tell me, I'm working for you now. This is not my business. So I'm not going to supply my best thoughts now. I won't share my best network with you. I will not give my best time to you. I'm conserving my network till when I start my own. But you forget that every action you take is a rehearsal for mastery. If I'm working with you and I'm not supplying my best, I am perfecting how not to supply my best.
For yourself.
And then 10 years of working with you, I have mastered not giving my best. Then I go on my own and then I begin to struggle to give my best because I forgot that while I was conserving my energy, conserving my network with you, I was mastering something terrible. And so at every point in time, you hold the moment your best. Whether your boss is mean, wicked, is irrelevant. Your boss can be wicked and you say, I'm not going to supply my best. You watch it. In 10 years' time, your wicked boss may even be dead. Now you have to start your own business. But what have you done? You have mastered how not to give your best, not giving your best to your boss. So it doesn't matter who the people around you are. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter the experience you are having. You hold every moment best effort. And if you are smart enough to do that, I promise you, what happens to you is that the more diligent you are in the moment, the faster you get the future to gravitate towards you. Now, there's nothing like delay. Delay is a necessary religious creation to weaken the intelligence of the human condition to depend on its fellow quantities like this. You have to accept the possibility of your inadequacy for you to depend on another human being. And the fact of delay is therefore interpreted as a spiritual experience so that people can elevate themselves. People can look away from what is really going on and seek dependence on somebody else. And that's part of what religion will achieve. So my life is filled with delay. I didn't get married until when? I didn't have a child until 9 years after I got married. I didn't get a degree until 12 years after. I used to worry about it. I used to say delay. They used to tell me spirit of delay. But as I've matured now, I realize that every so-called delay was God keeping me on the shelf, empowering me in a season to prepare me for what is next. I don't have a mentality of delay anymore. I've seen delay as a necessary season in my life where God prepares me. And every time I have so-called delay, once that season is done, a speed visits me that I really cannot even control. And I cover in 1 year what some people will cover in 8 years. I didn't get a degree until 12 years, but I've hired my classmates who graduated 8 years before me. I've hired classmates at different times, right? I've paid salaries of classmates who have been working while I was still trying to get a degree, right? So I tell people there's no such thing as a delay. What you need to do is to understand that some things are facts. You are not supposed to solve a fact. You solve problems.
Okay.
Every time you try to solve a fact, you announce your lunacy. Because the truth is, you don't solve a fact. Most people try to solve a fact and accept a problem. It's supposed to be the other way around. The only thing you can do with a fact is to embrace the fact, walk around the fact, you solve problems. You don't solve a fact. The moment you want to solve a fact, you are now leaving us to something else. So what I say to people is, don't make the confusion between a fact and a problem. The fact is you are here, right? But permanence is an illusion. You will always move. A lot will move you out of here if you can just supply your best effort where you are. So I want to encourage people very strongly not to surrender themselves to all of these weak quantities about stuff like delay. I used to think so as well, but I've matured and I've realized that your so-called delay is a concentrated experience you are having that will be diffused in time into another season of strength and motion and relevance. But you really can't do anything about what is certain. Some things are certain, right? I'll tell you. Death is certain. Loss is certain. Betrayal, pain, disappointment. Those things are certain. Death is certain. And people are afraid of death, for example. And I say to people, if people are praying for you because you're afraid of death, they are being kind. The real thing is that you are not smart. You are really not intelligent. Because if you are intelligent, you will see that it's not smart, it is unintelligent to be afraid of certainty. If I'm going to die, being afraid of it will not make me die later. Being bold in the face of it will not make me die faster. You will die anyway, and there's no seniority in the grave that you are going. So it's pointless to be afraid of death. You can as well be bold in the face of death. You will still die if you are going to die. If you are weak and silly and afraid in the face of death, you will still die. So your only response to certainty of any kind is preparation and strategy. That's the only thing. Since you are going to die, then all you have is preparation and strategy. Disappointment is coming. What is coming will come, no matter who you are. The difference is how you see, how you hear, how you interpret, how you judge, how you make decisions, and how you take action. That's the difference. But when we come, we come. So the boldness and the power is to understand that whether you like it or not, you will experience contrary situations and contrary seasons. I live in America, right? And I've traveled around the world. You see the same problem. You see this gentleman is in Lagos, Nigeria. He's having problem A. He's praying about it. He's seeking spiritual help everywhere. A Caucasian has the same problem in Texas. And what is he doing? He's sitting down thinking and mapping possibilities and designing scenarios, right? 2 years after, he's beating it. It's on a different level. This guy is still moving from temple to temple, from imam to imam, from pastor to pastor, from high priest to high priest. His problem is still unsolved. God gave us a brain for a reason. And I am bold to say that as far as relating with God is concerned, which is a vertical relationship, your spirit is more important than your brain. But as far as working with human beings are concerned, which is an horizontal relationship, your brain is superior to your spirit. And spiritual people, religious people will not like that, but think about it. People who have dead spirits, who are not even Christians, who don't even go to church. You don't have to have Jesus for one day in your life to make money. You don't need God for one day to make money. It's a gift of the human condition on many levels. If you are not a child, if you don't serve God, you can win 100 meters in Olympics.
True.
You can be the world heavyweight champion. You can be the richest man in the world. I mean, the richest man in the first 5, none of them is a Christian, right? So these people make money. These people don't go to church. They are not so-called, worshiping in any of the top religions. These are just people who believe, some of them understand the idea of a superior being, but they are not your devoted worshippers, right? But they have the money. And people who are devoted work for them with joy, and they collect their salary with peace, regardless of the spiritual state of the owner of the company, right? So if you don't have a relationship with God, people still become rich, they become successful, people build enterprises, they succeed in sports, in marketing, in different things, in the arts, in the sciences, they become great doctors and all of that. So in spite of your dead spirit, you still do a lot in this life. But if your brain is dead, you are useless to God, you are useless to the devil. Both God and devil really cannot use you. Well, maybe the devil will still be happy that you are useless. But the truth is that you cannot do anything. If your brain is dead, you cannot do nothing. So you tell me which is most important. As far as your horizontal responsibilities are concerned, your brain is important. So you can't tell me you are so spiritual and your spirit is so alive and you are not giving recognition to your brain.
To your brain.
I think that the partnership between spirit and biology is key, which is your spirit and your brain should give you a level of invisibility that people should bow to. But if you tell me that you are so spiritual and you discount the value of your brain, then you are a transgressor. You are insulting your creator by telling him that he made a mistake for giving you a brain. God gave you a brain for God's sake because he knew your spirit is not enough. God doesn't do imperfect things. If your spirit was enough, he won't give you a brain. He knew that with me and your spirit, you are still not enough. To be enough, I gave you a brain. So use this brain to navigate. That's why he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. I'm not seeking what belongs to Caesar. I made Caesar. Give to me what belongs to me and give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The problem with people is they don't know what is on both lists of what belongs to God and what belongs to Caesar. So they give to God what belongs to Caesar. They give to Caesar what belongs to God. They pray about what they should use their brain for. And then they use their brain for what they should pray about. And they don't just get it. So I say that the possibilities of the human brain has been established by human being. We've gone to the moon. We've gone to Mars. We've built merchant banking. We constructed the pyramid. We've done incredible things. We have the internet. We've built social media. We're doing amazing breakthroughs in medicine and science and the arts. We've done incredible things with the gift of the human brain. If we surrender that to God, we come into a new strength of invisibility that we are yet to see. But even without God, there's so much that people can do to progress their lives. People who are not born again, who don't go to church, who don't go to a mosque, have great marriages. People are successful. People live great lives. People do well, right? So I just think that if we respect our prevailing responsibilities more, the possibilities ahead will emerge because the universe compensates anomalies. And those kind of resolve will make the difference.
I have 2 questions based on that. And the 2 questions that comes to mind is, 1, how does a person get to think like you? 1. 2, the second question is, when you do all the audacious things that you have done, right? I was reading up about your book, A Love Affair with Failure, and how it had the recognition from Wall Street and Forbes and it sold millions of copies. Do you know that is going to, do you do these things with the mindset that I'm using my brain and I'll just say I have a spiritual relationship, so it's going to work? Do you do that with, okay, you said sensitivity is not possible, but do you have a feeling that it's going to work?
I do. I always know that something huge, I still have that energy till now. I am consistently overwhelmed with the idea that something bigger than what I know is always ahead of me, right? I just have that clarity. And I don't think that is being smart. I consider that to be God's gift. The details of how that will happen, I rarely know. And I'm not the guy that wants to, accept any form of indolence or inactivity, trying to make a right decision. I'm not that guy. I'd rather be decisive and be wrong than wait, doing nothing, trying to get a good decision. That's not me. And trying to camp on a spot, waiting for the right decision, has never worked for me. Right? Moving, creating energy, motion, momentum has worked for me more. I've made mistakes. I have experienced a lot of failing, but I've never failed. I've never failed one day. I've never been a failure, but I've been failing a lot of times. And I'll tell you the difference. You see, failure is a noun. A noun is the final name of a person, place, or thing. A shoe is a noun. It's a shoe forever. A watch is a noun. It's a watch forever. New York is a noun. It's New York forever, right? So if you are a failure, which is a noun, you should not be able to succeed again. Once you are a failure, that should be you forever. If you fail today and tomorrow you are a millionaire, then you are not a failure. Because if you are a failure, you should be incapable of succeeding. So if failure is a possibility, words like return, restore, anything should not be possible again after it has been messed up.
Okay.
Somebody should not be in jail today, came out of jail 10 years after, wrote a book, and became a millionaire. Then it was never a failure. Now, failing is a verb, which is a continuous tense, meaning that you are in a state, not your final end. Your breath is proof there's something higher to conquer. They say opportunity once lost can never be regained. I think that's silly. Opportunity once lost can always be regained. As a matter of fact, opportunities once lost goes into your future to multiply. It will visit you bigger. That is the guarantee of words like restoration, reimagining, restart, anything regenerate is because opportunities don't visit you and leave you stuck. Opportunities are on errand. Their own success is that they manifested in your life. So even when you miss them, their duty is to go into the future, gather strength, because when you lost it, you were single. When they are returning, you are married with 2 kids. They have to come back bigger so that you can add up to your new state. I have seen it in the lives of thousands of people I have worked with, into the lives of millions I have had the privilege of inspiring, in the lives of myself, a lot of HNIs I've worked with. I have seen consistently that opportunities once lost always come back. Now, there's something called real time, and people judge their life by real time. In real time, you can lose. But in bended time, every loss is profit. Right? Every loss is profit. What is real time? Real time is, you see a Range Rover now. Wow, Range Rover, I can kill for it. In bended time, you look at that same Range Rover in 20 years. It's a bloody coffin. Nobody wants to drive. You see a girl in 2025, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to destroy my marriage. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to mess up. I need to have this girl. That's real time. If you bend time on that girl, she's probably on a wheelchair, her teeth broken, her leg twisted to one corner. And then you say, so this is the girl I traded everything for, right? Because, powerness, like I said, is an illusion. So real maturity is to be able to clock out of real time and live in bended time perpetually, which is the real, true, final state of an entity, regardless of their prevailing state. So I see a camera now. What is this camera in 25 years? That's bended time. Bend time on everything and you see their real value. And when you bend time on even praise, I tell people, don't draw inspiration from praises. And don't draw dejection from criticism. Because in bended time, both praise and criticism are the same. The people who praise you today, they're going to tear you to pieces in 3 years' time. The people who criticize you today will come bowing at the sole of your feet in 3 years' time. So whether they are praising you, that's why the Bible says that Jesus knew all men. He wasn't giving himself to any. The idea that human beings are transient. And whatever they supply and whatever they share at any point in time is transient. Your goal really is to stay out of that which defines the majority, which is real time. And in real time, profit and loss are the same. Praise and criticism are the same. Life and death on many levels are the same. So I am in that place where, I don't worry about perfection. I just believe that it is not your duty to check the perfect state of an idea. Only time can do that. And the reason why you have iPhone 13 and iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 is because if Apple is going to wait to perfect iPhone before they give you the very first one, they will never give you an iPhone. So what have they done? They give you the iPhone in the state that you can appreciate it. They know it's not perfect. They are working on the next one already. They give you iPhone 13. iPhone 14 was in iPhone 13 as an imperfection. iPhone 15 was in iPhone 14 as an imperfection. Because everything you see, this watch, is in a state of existence that you see. It's in a phase of development that you do not see. And it is in a season of usefulness that you do not see. In 50 years' time, this watch will not be as valuable as it is now, so to say. So forget that it is this watch. I mean, most watches, but not this one. This one will still be valuable because that's what they did it for. But for most things, that is how it is. So you have to be able to understand that everything is incomplete and that the incompleteness of an idea is the guarantee of the next level of that thing. If today was perfect, I said, tomorrow will be unnecessary. Tomorrow's people have work to do because today's people cannot get it right, no matter how much they try. They will only create something that is excellent, but not perfect, right? So we need that kind of confidence in how we navigate. I've made many mistakes making decisions, and a lot of my decisions have not worked right. I'll be honest on this podcast to say that every time I planned and I strategized and I created everything, it has never worked.
Interesting.
I have failed, in quote. Every time I had done strategic planning and set up everything, it doesn't work. All my breakthroughs have not come from strategic thinking. They have come from providence. Meaning that value has happened to me more than I have made happen. I found out that when I'm planning, I'm strategizing, the universe is allowing me to sharpen my faculty. When the real opportunity comes, which only providence brings, I will be ready for it. These mistakes that I'm making, this strategic thinking, is actually my school for being sharpened to receive what transcends my thinking. So, if you read The Richest Man in Babylon, the conclusion is that nobody is in charge of creating opportunity. Opportunity visits you, but you'll be ready. And I always tell people, if you are ready, you are late. If you are readiness,
if you are ready, you are late.
You are late. You are late. Every time you are ready, check it. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone. So you can't wait to be ready because you will never be ready. So what you can do is to keep moving. Like I said, embrace your story, trust, honor your journey, trust the future.
Okay.
And if you keep moving like that, pray if you want to pray, but you can't, in the name of any prayer, accept that you'll be inactive. I say to people, keep moving, trust the future, and God has designed it so well that the future will find you. That's how I moved. My book made it to Wall Street Journal best-selling book. All my books will do that, right? Because I've understood that the seed of greatness is in me, and it's in you, and it's in everyone. I don't have any other expectation. I don't think that I will. I wasn't going to write a book. You know, I'm 54 years old. You know, I've done this job for over 2 decades. That was my first book. People who don't even know 1% of what we know have written so many books. But I said to myself, I'm an underdog. I'm a black man. I'm from Africa. I'm in Nigeria. I want to write a book. 90% or more of the book in your library are written by Americans and published in America. I'm like, if I write this book in Nigeria, I'm going to write it for friends and family, plus a few fans and a few believers. I will produce 5,000 copies. I don't have a church members to say, come and buy, your life will change. I don't. It's a market. I will take some to a few speaking engagements. You give maybe half of it out, be signing it, and then you edit 300 in your room. And that's it. I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. If I'm going to write a book, the world is going to read it. I really believe I know something. I think God has given me something. And I believe what I know transcends the limit of culture or geography or race. I think anyone, anywhere can understand and interpret what I'm saying and use it. So if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book for the world. I'm going to write a book for white people.
Your first book?
My very first book.
Sorry, sir, how old were you at this time?
I was already, I think I was 51 when I was writing my first book, right? People called me at different times on my journey to say, you know, write a book, you're wasting, yeah. And I look at the person talking to me, that, okay, so you have written a book. Who is aware I wrote a book? Really, who is aware, right? I believe in passing the test of universality above the test of locality. You can pass the test of locality and impress people smaller than you all the time, as opposed to swimming in an ocean of the universe, right? I don't think you are doing things at the highest level if you say you are global and the Americans are not aware. If you say you are global and the Americans are not aware, I don't think, you probably have crossed border. You probably are international in that you are talking to your kind and your people. You know, most Nigerians don't live in America. Most Nigerians live in Nigeria inside America. Most Nigerians don't live in the UK. Most Nigerians and most Africans don't live, they live in Africa inside the UK, inside Canada, inside America. I decided that that's not going to be my case. If I wanted to be talking to Nigerians, I left 200 million at home. 200 million Nigerians are in Nigeria. If they are my focus, I shouldn't step out. If I step out, I'm not going to go to America and be looking for Nigerians again. I left 200 million at home. So if I go to America, I must be a good guest by talking to my hosts, which is the Americans. So in writing a book, I thought that Americans should know that I wrote a book. So what are the institutions that define that? Wall Street Journal, USA Today, New York Times, Amazon, they're all over the place. I said, so I will write a great book. I will get a great publisher to do it. I don't care how long it will take me. I'm going to do a great work. I did a great work. We connected with Forbes Books. Forbes, don't forget, have all the network already. They know they are breathing algorithms that determine if your book will sell or not. So in the United States, Providence will be on your part for you to self-publish and go all the way. It happens very rarely, but the publishers know the gates and they know how to navigate. So that happened to us. And I believe that the way all of that connection happened was just God compensating, a time that is ready. Yeah.
So, sorry, I have too many questions, but I'll try and maybe make it 3 more because of time.
Great.
So my third question, third to the last, is even just listening to you, I feel like I've gone around the world. I feel like I wrote the book. A lot of people, it's a privilege to draw from your wealth of knowledge at 54. You have seen many moons. And I personally believe that you can't take away that space of experience.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people in my age range, late 20s, early 30s, 30s generally, that are experiencing a lot of burnout and a lot of burnout is the word, because they want to do, we're such big dreamers, want to do everything. And
Yes.
we want it to get there. Do you think that we should have a spacing thing, or do you think, how can we navigate burnout, basically? How can we navigate the spirit of excellence, spirit of pursuit, and also balance it with the spirit of contentment? That, okay, even if this does not happen early 20s, if it happens early 30s, it's not too bad.
Yes.
I'm just being real, because a lot of people want all these things. They want that book at 21 to have achieved it. And then it doesn't happen. And then there's this massive frustration and burnout. And so it's like we're just in a constant chase. Every day, every second, chasing, such that I have come to experience some people who are in their early 20s talking like they're 45.
Oh my God.
So how do you think we should approach that?
I think that, millennials, most critically Gen Z, Gen Alpha, are dealing with a different type of complexity. It is the arrest of time, the arrest of space, and those two things are being driven by technology. So a lot is happening very fast. The possibility, the propensity to be seen has heightened. And, when I was growing up, the chances that you'll be seen by the Americans mean that you have to go to America. But today, with a good website, the whole world can see you from anywhere. Good digital marketing, the right positioning, the whole world can see you. And so young people are doing amazing things in the world. And so the reality is to see what young people are doing and believe that you can do it as well. Now, I always tell people, if you sit in front of a TV program and you see anyone on TV doing amazing things, and you feel inside of you, I can do that. Believe me, you can. If you can't, it's not going to be in your context. We don't have time to break that down. But I always tell to people that there is intelligence in desire. And desire is not random. And desire is not imagination as we like to think it is. Desire is a visitation.
Okay.
And once you start having a desire in a direction, it's because you have been visited by possibilities. And when possibilities visit you, you feel it in that way as like you are the one thinking. But if you honor that, and you honor it in a very pragmatic and practical way, what that means is that you want to be guarded around some things like time, like outcome, like geography. All those things are legacy, destiny sensitive. Geography is destiny sensitive. You just don't move, right? Time is so critical. You can desire for something to happen to you in a particular time, but be guarded in how you cement that time as your make or mar. Because you are not in control of the elements that define that. And so people make plans. Part of what I do is manifestation strategy. I help people navigate newness. I help people keep complex models in their head and help them make the move from point A to point B, whatever those points are. But even in that, you have to give allowance to what I call providence. I don't believe in luck, but I do believe that things happen to us, not necessarily because of what we do, but even more than that, in spite of what we do. And that requires an abandonment at a level where what you want to plan on are the things you can control and leave the remaining
that you cannot control.
And I'll give you an example. I gave birth to my son in my 40s. If I live up to 80, he will still be 30 something. So I'm going to leave him in this world most likely as a young man. And that used to kind of torment me. I want to be around him for as long as I can because he came late, right? And then I got clarity. I really can't control. I mean, you see people give birth to a child, and I ask them, you give birth to the child, how long do you hope to stay with this child? They say, oh, 50 years, oh, 60 years. I say, fantastic. Can you prove that you'll be awake tomorrow morning mathematically? You can't prove it. But you have given birth to a child that you are believing you'll be with for 50 years. And you can't even prove that you'll be alive by the end of today, right? You start building a house. You're not even sure you'll be alive when that building is done. But the possibility that you won't be alive did not stop you from building. The possibility that you may not be alive for that child in 20 years did not stop you from giving birth to the child. You gave birth in hope that you will be, and you started building in hope that you will be. You gained admission year 1 in the university in hope that you will finish. There's no math that says that you will finish, but you believe you will, and then you take action based on hope. So I call it adventure capital. We must have the freedom to trust what we see and to take actions based on that, even if you cannot see the end. But we got to keep moving. But in your moving, be guided. Make the distinction between that which you can control and that which you cannot control. So with my son and that reality I painted, what can I control? I can keep fit. So I exercise every day. I should eat well. I'm not afraid of death. I don't just want to blame myself for it when it comes. So let me eliminate everything that can come from me. I mean, I shouldn't have a desire to live that long and be eating my way to my death. So I have a strict diet and I don't eat until 36 hours. So I fast 36 hours and I eat for only 10 hours when I'm eating. And once I'm done eating for 10 hours, I go 36 hours. Again. So that's my life.
Wow.
So I first in perpetuity for 36 hours, each break for 10 hours and go for 36 hours. And that's my default. That brings me into a dimension of health that is not common, which is the fact of autophagy, which means that my cells and my body can breathe. I mean, I used to have a big
Scar?
growth here,
okay,
and it's all gone, right? And I can point to many things in my body that has fixed themselves because of my fasting. Of course, it's spiritual as well, but most it's also critically health. So I exercise, I drink a lot of water, I try to sleep 7-8 hours as much as I can. I fast a lot. I think I have done all I can do from my side as far as diseases are concerned. The science is that if you live like that, there's a 90% chance you will never be sick. That you will never be
it's to
sick.
go and start fasting.
So, but people that are very fit, footballers who eat the best diet, who are trained, who have the best body, six-pack, everything, they just fall down and die on the pitch. So all these things I'm doing is all I can do. Somewhere in my head, I know this does not give me any guarantee that what I see will happen. But it does eliminate that if it happens, it will be my fault. So I will leave the remaining for the unknown and for providence. And I think every human being should plan based on what they can control and allow their spirits to be free to accommodate that which they cannot control, right? And that is what saves you from burnout. Burnout is not from doing what you have to do. It comes from doing what you don't have to do, just like stress. Nobody gets stressed from doing what they have to do. You stress from doing what you don't have to do. Now, we say you should sleep a lot. But if you sleep too much, you wake up tired, right?
Yeah,
Meaning
that's
that
true.
everything has to be done with moderation, right? So I think that young people of your own generation have a deeper sickness, and is, the fact of attention, and attention is the number one resource in the world today. It's the new oil, giving it and getting it. And I tell young people, if you are not paying for a product, you are the product. So there's nothing like that just on Google. You are the product. There's nothing like free Facebook. You are the product. That's why it's free. It's called freemium. Nothing is free. And I tell young people, if you take gossip out of your life, you will never see burnout. Once you take gossip out of your life, you are free. 80% of all your problem with stress, with burnout. Gossip. Let me define it too.
Okay.
Gossip is not when you have a group of people talking together. You can gossip alone. Gossip is association with or consistent contact with information you cannot use. So when you relate with information you cannot use, that's gossip. So what do I mean? If you sit in front of a movie for 2 hours and you finish and what you are watching cannot add to your life tomorrow morning, you are in an act of gossip because you have just related with information you cannot use. If you read a magazine and what you are reading cannot profit you tomorrow morning, cannot add to your life, give you speed. And when I say add to your life, profit you, I mean it's either giving you speed or it's giving you ease or it's giving you affordability or it's giving you momentum. If it's not giving you any of those four, you are in an act of gossip. Gossip is associating with information you cannot use. And so when you sit on social media for hours, and somebody watched a movie for about 2 hours, and I asked the person, so what did you learn? He said, I learned that evil is bad. I said, wow. So at 34, today is the day you now know that evil is bad. Really? So what you are saying, in other words, that you didn't learn anything. Because it's not today that you know that evil is bad. And so whether you are watching a movie, whether you are alone or with people, if what you are relating with cannot add to your life tomorrow morning, you are in an act of gossip. And so I judge my time that way. People must qualify. 3 things must qualify for the investment of your time and your energy. People, places, and moments. The people you allow into your life, those you deny access. The geographies you allowed yourself to see, those you refuse to see. The moments you prioritize and those you deprioritize. That is your life. When death is sure, retirement is guaranteed, and you are at the departure lounge of life, ready to take the flight, your life will be proportional to what you did with people, places, and events. The people you gave access to your life and those you denied access. The geographies you honored with your time and your energy and those you refuse to honor. The moments you prioritize and those you deprioritize. That is life. That's the size of your pocket. That's the wealth of your legacy. That's the richness of your peace. If you don't let people, places, and moments qualify for the investment of your time and your energy, you are not, I tell people, you can't waste time. You can only waste your life. No matter how foolish you are, you still have 24 hours every day. You will never have 23 hours because you are foolish. And you will have 25.4 because you are wise. So every day you wake up in the morning, you have 24 new boxes to fill up with whatever you did, right? And when you are 100 years old, the same time you had when you were 1 is the same time you will have when you are 100. Your time never diminishes. What you don't have again at 100 that guaranteed death or retirement is energy. You can, so there's nothing called time management in this world. And people fight me when I say that. It's more about energy management, because energy you can take from the future and burn it today. You can take from today and save it in the future. You can't waste time. You can only burn energy. So once you know that energy is a limited resource in your life, then you have to think of opportunity cost, because there's an alternative you are foregoing every time you deploy that energy in any direction. So you want to be sure. That's why I don't go to O and B's, because I always ask myself, on my way to this party, if anything happens to me, you see, on my way to this podcast, if I have an accident and I die, I'll be fulfilled. You know why?
Why?
I'm on my job. I'm on the journey of my purpose. I'm coming here to disseminate what I know to help the world, right? If I get into a flight, every time I'm in a plane, Once I sit in the plane and it takes off, to me, I'm dead. When I land, I'm resurrected. That's how I see plane crash, right?
Wow.
So because you can't control anything in the
Yeah.
air. Once the plane is in the air, you are out of control. Only God keeps it there. And if it drops, there's nothing you can do. So I tell people, there was a plane crash in Nigeria in 2012, Dana 153. There's somebody I know on that flight who was coming from a wedding. He doesn't talk to the people that were wedding. They don't talk. They are at war. He went to the wedding so that they won't say,
Did not go.
They won't say I didn't go. That's why he went. When the plane was dropping, I'm sure he must have asked himself, what the heck am I even doing on this flight? I don't even talk to these people. Now I'm dying for them. Because now you are dying for them. Because I tell people, movement is destiny sensitive. You just don't go anywhere. You should go to where you are assigned. And once you understand that, you have no idea how much energy you save, how much. Now, my team knows, my family knows. If I step out of my house, it's a purposeful movement. It's either I'm going to speak, I'm going for a strategy session, I'm going to church, I'm going to somewhere purposeful. I'm not just going. Do you understand? That's what some other people do, because there are 12 traits of lunacy. 12. One of them is the ability to leave a point without a destination in view. You know you can't do it. You know you can't get up from here without a destination in view. You can't. If you just stand up, even if you just stand up, you have a mental photograph where you are going. You are going to the restroom, you are going to pick your makeup, you are going to pick the microphone. You know where you are going. Even if you are going for a walk, you know you're not walking to New York.
Yeah.
You know, you have an idea where you will stop and come back. Once you can leave a point without a destination in view, you're no longer one of us. You are not supposed to be able to do it, right? Now, people say, so how does that concern me? I said, but when you see people naked on the street, just going, that's what they are able to do. That's why they are naked on the street. But that is extreme lunacy. There is more calm, sublime form, which is you can be in this room, I can be talking to you like this, and I'm not different from that guy walking naked, because we both obey that truth, which is both of us can leave a point without a destination in view. While he is extreme, naked on the street, I can look like this and not be less off, right? And I'm not trying to say that people who are naked on the streets have a problem. I know it's mental health, all of that.
Yeah.
We're calling it what it is for the conversation, right? But what I say to people is that people move into a day without a photograph of what they want to see in the day. People move into a whole week without a photograph of what they want to see in the week. People move into a whole year without a photograph of what they want to see at the end of the year. They move into a whole decade without a photograph of what they want to see at the end of the decade. The bottom line is they also have been able to leave a point without a destination in view. So even if you sit in a Range Rover, you live by the beach in Miami or in Lekki, if you leave a point without a destination in view, you are sharing commonality with somebody who is naked on the street. So the idea is, if you save yourself from those kind of things, and I say that being able to move without aligning it with destiny, people, places, and events is an act of gossip. Anytime you make an action, you put your time, your mind, your energy on any information, any material, or any experience that cannot benefit you tomorrow morning, it is an act of gossip. Gossip is associating with unusable information, right? And if young people can eliminate that out of their life and be more intentional and let people, places, and moments qualify for the investment of their time and their energy, they will be powerful, they will avoid stress and burnout, and they will climb the highest mountain and fly the flag of their own belief there. What I also say is that if you respect yourself enough to know that at the end of the day, this grave, you are going to go there alone. And nobody you admire or you don't like, or who don't admire you or who dislike you are going to go there with you. And there's no seniority there. There's nothing like, oh, when did you die? I died 10 years ago. You moved here. There's nothing like that. So there's no rank in the grave where you are going. And there's economy of the grave. There's economy of the mortuary. There's economy of the prison. There are different economies you have to honor in your mind so that you can free yourself into your agentic power. which is the capacity to influence your own thoughts and influence your own action and staying in your own miracle and birthing yours.
Leads me to the question I wanted to ask.
Let's
Influencing
go.
your own thoughts, influencing your own action. And I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm learning so much from this about the aspect of gossip. But maybe to be a spokesperson for the young people.
Let's go.
Yes, there's the waste of time. There's all of that. But I know that there's a curiosity, even I have it, with the reason why we will say we are gossiping about all these things. And sometimes I feel like we're on a journey to find out what we believe in. And I'll give you examples of what I mean in terms of morals. What is right, what is wrong? There's a blur. Because like you said, we're in a global village through
Yes.
social media.
Yes.
So every day we see things and then there's this back and forth of, no, look at it from this way. No, look at it from that other way. I'll give you a very interesting example that is pure gossip.
Yes.
That's not add anything to my life.
Yes.
But I read about a woman who had gone through a divorce and her friend housed her. And her friend asked her, oh, in this scenario, I have a child. I want you to babysit the child from 9 to 5. And she got home early one day and saw that the woman had sent the child to daycare. And the woman said, you saw I was going through a divorce and you thought all you could do was take advantage of me and turn you to a nanny. Now the question was, who was wrong, who was right? And then all of us were on the comment section. And genuinely, it's not just, I don't know them from anywhere, but I'm actually asking myself, like, in this kind of scenario, how do I react? Now, I'm not talking about this
Yes.
in context. What I'm saying is that I feel like we are trying to find answers to a lot of questions. What should we believe? For instance, even as a Christian, which we are, there is the question of, okay, so how do we interact with people who are not Christian, who have strong belief systems that are opposing to the word of God? How do we interact with people who are of a different sexual orientation, a different mindset, that they don't even believe in God? So sometimes I feel like what happens in these scenarios where we are losing time and, like you rightfully said, gossip, is that we're trying to figure out the best way. Oh, so what is the answer to that? Is it like, keep to yourself, read the Bible and just focus on your journey? Or how do we find out how to be on the right way?
Yes,
basically?
I'll say a few things. Number one, there is a documentary, I think it's on Netflix. It's called Social Dilemma. You know, I've seen it and it's changed my life.
Okay.
When I saw it, I decided that till the day I die, I will give only 1 hour. This is almost 3 years ago now,
Okay.
or 4. I will give only 1 hour to social media every day. And I'm a public figure of some sort. And there are a lot of messages on my DMs. So every morning for 1 hour, I go to my DM. I check, no matter where I am in the world, I check what I have there. There's a lot of silly messages there. I'm a very good blocker. So I just block a lot of things. Then I take messages that are meaningful. I'm very responsive on my DMs.
Okay.
So I respond to people on my different accounts, and I have 6. I go to all of them and I just respond to messages. And when I'm done, if I still have time, I can then look at my wall. If I don't have time, that's it. And every day I give 1 hour of my time to social media. It doesn't take more than that. I do my best to make sure it doesn't take more than that, right? And that was because I saw Social Dilemma is a documentary from people who built the whole of social media. The CTOs behind the scene, the engineers, the programmers behind the scene. They were the ones saying, look, there's nothing you are doing online that is random. We knew you are going to, every time you press like, we made you do it. You think you are the one doing it because you think you are making your decisions for you. And some of them said, you know, none of my kids have phones. Some of them said, none of my kids is on social media. We created it. These are people from Facebook, people from Twitter, people from different places. It's a great, great documentary. I think everybody will see, should see, and then you make up your mind as to how you want to navigate, you know, and I think people should, because it will save you a lot of time. But we are also in a time where envy is heightened. It's terribly heightened. When I was growing up, when we finish high school, there's a song that we sing in our valedictory service. Lord be with you till we meet again. You know, when we are singing that song, everybody's crying. Everybody. I finished secondary school in 1986. Once we start singing the song, people break down. You know why? because indeed God be with you till we meet again. Because the chances that we will see again, there was no social media. Homes don't have telephone except you are really upper class. There's no 24-hour TV. So somebody leaves school and moves to Kano, another one moves to America, one moves to London. You are not going to see each other again. That you will see each other again is so slim. So we know we are really missing each other. Now I'm a public speaker. I still speak at valedictory services in top schools. So I go in there and they are singing the same song, but the kids are not crying anymore. They're just high-fiving and having fun. Why are they not crying? Because nobody's going anywhere. Everybody's on social media. We are leaving school. We are all in the same space, which is social media, right? So, but in my time, when Thomas is getting married, I don't know. When she builds a big house in New York, most likely I won't be aware because I can't see. Now, if Thomas buys a belt, he goes on social media and say, belting life, belto. Right in my house, through technology, I now have what we call the burden of privacy, meaning that I can now monitor everybody's life. You see, in my time, if you are envious of somebody, you have to talk it in. You cannot show it because the only way you are even going to know about the need to be envious is that you have to have proximity to the person and see the person's situation, right? Now, you don't need to be with the person. Right in the privacy of your room, you are checking, Ajayeti Kole, Femi Chiramoto, John has built a house. Oh, Lola is getting married. Oh, Lizzie has a child now. And then you can monitor everybody's life. So studies have now shown that the energy for envy has gone exponential. Because people in their privacy can now compare their lives to everybody. Nobody's measuring that. So you are baking your own sadness, your own frustrations, because now you have an incredible field through technology to compare your life to everybody's life. And now you don't even know what they are building. The food they are eating, almost every babe now cannot eat without first taking the picture. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Nobody should come for me. I'm not saying it's wrong, but people now, and then you are posting and you are saying, when will I have this? When will I have this? And hey, God,
when?
And then social media, then images of all kinds. Somebody that just cried some minutes ago, it's not time to post. You quickly pop up and put something and then give you the face. And then people put like 0 point something % of their life on social media. And then people are going to run 99% of their own life by that 0 point something minutes of the person's life. They're going to judge your own 90% of your life by this experience that this person just cut a part of his misery and put it online. It's the best part of his day. He has 23 hours of misery, 1 hour of bliss, and he cut 10 minutes or 2 minutes out of that bliss and put it online. And then 24 hours of my own life tomorrow is frustrated because of this 10 seconds. So it's crazy. I think people have to do better, call themselves to something higher. But there's something you asked about faith. I think people are silly if they try to use religion to determine the weight of their association in the world. If you are going to avoid, people with homosexuals, or you're going to avoid Muslims because you are a Christian, you're going to avoid Christians because you are a Muslim. If you are going to think along religious lines to make the progressive decisions of your life, I'm sorry to say, you are not just short-sighted, you are very foolish. Because then you will have to kill yourself and leave this world. I have gay friends. I have Muslim friends. I have, what is the strength of your faith and communicating it if you are not going to create an environment for proximity to demonstrate your value? Real evangelism and culture shaping is that people can be close to you to see the manifestation of your journey, to unlock their curiosity to pursue your source. So if you don't create proximity, it's not that you have to create it. Because, if you meet Bill Gates now, how do you preach to him? Assuming you want to preach to Bill Gates, what do you say? you will make it. Or this is your year. Or your life. These are the richest people in the world. Where will you even meet? In business class? Where? Where?
Lagos business.
So you need to prioritize proximity
yeah.
first. People need to have access to you to start a chance to feel the weight of your wisdom, the strength of your character, the positivity of your energy, and the graciousness of your God. If you don't have proximity, how do people assess that? So I tell people, it's contact without contamination. You need the wisdom to be able to sit in the midst of evil and raise your wisdom to a level where the evil of your environment can seek it for direction. I prepare a table before you, not in the presence of your friends, not in the presence of your allies or your family members. I prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. So there is a food you cannot eat if you cannot sit eyeball to eyeball with those who contradict. And when you have such maturity, then you can understand that there's no classification for light without darkness. There's no classification for it. There's no reference for good without evil. So how the heck do you think? Do you think you can live in this world, right, as light without any form of connection with darkness? As a matter of fact, there's no definition for light except for darkness. It's the validity of darkness that gives relevance to light. So if we leave this room and we switch off the light, darkness does not stroll in and say, oh, light has gone. Okay, fellow darkness, let's enter the room. As we are here, darkness is here. The Bible says light shine in darkness and darkness cannot comprehend it. Just because I can't comprehend you doesn't mean we are not in the same space. Just because I can't interpret your genius does not mean I'm not even sitting by your side. Darkness is in this room, is just overwhelmed by light. If we switch off the light, the darkness is already here. It just manifests. And the only reason why we could know that darkness is here, the only reason why we could know that light is here is because all of us are clear about what darkness is. And all of us know darkness so well that when we see light, we appreciate it. So whatever it is, even the things you think you hate, even the things you think are stupid, it is the manifestation of your wisdom that give them context. So you can't run away from that which you find to be contrary to your faith. What you do is to mature and communicate your spirituality. Now, what is spirituality? The proof of spirituality is two things: relatability and connectivity. The more spiritual you are, the more relatable you should become. If you are so spiritual and people cannot connect with you, cannot relate with you, they avoid you, you avoid them, you are not spiritual, you are a spiritist. When you are spiritual, the proof of that is your relatability and connectivity. Look at God. The Bible says he's the God of all flesh. All. Not just the God of Christians. The God of all flesh. Right? Association with him is different from proximity. Access to him. They're two different things. And everybody is a child of God. Just like a father can have a stubborn child, can have, a killer for a child who can even kill him, and he can have a beautiful boy who is changing the world for a child. They are all his children. And just because some of them contradict and they are yet to come into the weight of their sonship and to the realization of a God who in their life does not mean they will not become the pastors of tomorrow or the culture shapers in 10 years' time. So I will respect a man any day, whether he's a Christian or not, who is able to communicate a type of value that unlock gratitude in society. That's my guy. Whether he's Buddhist, Christian, gay, all of that is irrelevant to me. That does not mean I endorse his lifestyle. It doesn't mean I do. I recognize that even if I don't endorse his lifestyle, if you will ever find light to transcend that lifestyle, it will be because of the weight of my own character and wisdom. And there's no way he will know that if you don't have association.
Proximity.
So that's the way it works.
Oh wow, that's very mind blowing. I'm so glad this is on recording because I'm gonna watch it myself. And my final question,
Please.
right, is around love and it's around marriage. I think that's another thing. I'm just talking on behalf of all the young people.
Please enjoy.
I think that's another thing that we are. Would I use the word confused, or maybe have different opinions about it? If I were to say a ratio which is not based on any statistics, I would say more people have a bad notion or bad view on marriage currently than good. Again,
You're correct.
because of said social media, what we're feeding and what we're reading.
Yes.
But as somebody who has been in marriage, has seen so many marriages, whether good and bad, and even has experienced love, what is your view on marriage in this sense? One, I know that yes, not everybody needs to marry, but do you think that a person who is married, who desires to be married, is in a better place or has made a better decision or a good decision by marrying? Do you think there's a benefit? Do you think, because you hear on the other side, pastors will say so many benefits you unlock, so many blessings you unlock in marriage. And then there's the other end of people who marry and it seems like their life turns around for negative. So what is your view on marriage from a very realistic
Yes. I really don't think that being married is better than being single. I think marriage is overrated on many levels.
Okay.
And the culture and religion tries to prioritize the experience of marriage over singlehood. And what you find is that those who are married desperately want to be single. Those who are single desperately want to be married. Everybody is crazy. Just imagine that you have a house, you are running towards the house, and you see people running out of the house with dread on their faces. I mean, small wisdom requires that you pause and say, what is in this house? Why are people running out of this house that I'm running into, right? As a matter of fact, the Bible says it is better to be single than to be married. It's not a popular verse, but it's in the Bible, right? And it said, he that is single thinks about the things of the Lord, how he may please God. He said, but he that is married thinks about the things of his wife, how he may please his wife, and vice versa the husband. The idea is that whether you like it or not, marriage is two imperfect people living together. The Bible says stuff like, let your feet rarely be in your neighbor's house. Your neighbor. Let your feet rarely be in your neighbor's house, lest they turn and hate you. And that's familiarity. But in marriage, your feet is not rarely in your neighbor's house. It's permanently in your neighbor's house. So the potential for familiarity is the highest in marriage. The highest in marriage. And most people negotiate marriage, and this is the problem. We negotiate marriage based on similarities instead of difference. The Bible did not say two cannot work together except they are similar. No. It said two cannot work together except they agree. Agreement doesn't need similarity in it at all. You know why this room is working and everybody is doing his job? Because of agreement. We are all different people from different orientation, but this room is in equilibrium and order, well arranged because of agreement. You see 9,000 workers working in a bank, and there's agreement because there are policies, there are rules, there are all of that, right? Agreement can make two fools live together, can make two wise people live together, can make a wise and a foolish person live together, if they can agree, right? And you don't agree based on similarities, you agree based on difference. You negotiate marriage based on difference. This is who I am. This is how I am. This is who you are. This is how you are. And then we sit down and say, how do we navigate this, right? And then we know, when I was much younger, I've been married now 2025, right? 22 years.
Okay.
And, when I first got married, if I used to think that I shouldn't change. And if for whatever reason my wife thinks that I've changed, I'm going to try to defend it. Oh, I've not changed. I'm still the same person. But as I grew, I'm saying, wow, that was very silly. You know, I've changed. My wife has changed as well. Both of us have changed a lot. We've learned new things. We've seen more people. We've gathered more relevance. We've grown on many levels. So we're going to keep changing. But the truth is that people don't change. They get revealed. Situations and time introduce you to you on a higher level, right? If you step on cockroach, blood cannot come out because it doesn't have blood. If you step on cockroach, what will come out is the content of the cockroach. So when you put pressure on it, on a thing, which is what time does, when you put pressure on the thing, the content of the thing will be revealed. So when people say that, you know, you raise your voice on your wife because of what she said, no, it's not because of what she said. It's because of who you are, right? What she said got you livid, got you mad, got you angry. And so what you said, though, is a revelation of who you are. What you did, you slapped her because you are a slapper. Somebody who doesn't know how to slap will take his jacket, will be as livid as you, but will take his jacket and go for a walk because he doesn't know how to slap. But somebody who can slap will slap. It's not what the wife said. What the wife said put him under pressure, but what he did is what he knows how to do, right? And that's how people find themselves in marriage. And that's what determines the experience you are going to have. Because you are going into a marriage where, I told somebody, I said, my mom is 86 now, I think. We still disagree sharply. My siblings, who we grew up together, we still disagree sharply. How do you then marry a man or marry a woman 5 years ago and you are shocked that you are disagreeing and you are surprised that you are disagreeing? You know that thing I said about 12 traits of lunacy? One of them, again, is to express shock at what is normal. Do you understand? For example, if I say, Jane, if your name is Jane, I say, Jane, what are you supposed to say?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
If I say Jane, and you go like, surprise, you know what I'm going to do? I would laugh. I will assume you are trying to communicate humor. I will say, but because we have something to do, I'll now say, Jane, can we go? And you go like, again, I will not give you, as my last investment of faith, I will not give you a face like, can we now go? I get a joke. Then I call you Jane the third time. You know what I would do? I would take about 3 steps backward because I'm no longer sure what you will do next. Whether you will bite me or you will strangle me, I'm no longer sure. I'm now convinced you're not one of us. Because why? Because you are expressing shock at what is normal. It's your name. You shouldn't be surprised that I'm calling your name.
Damn.
Right? And so pain, disappointment, like I said, your only response to certainty is preparation and strategy. That's all. People will disappoint you. Somebody you just met 5 years ago, 10 years ago, she's not your mom that gave birth to you, you still disagree. How much more a young wife or a young husband? It's not going to work. So I think that if we become more realistic and we capture our differences more truthfully and practically, and we honor life in its design, right? And then we learn basic skills, like marriage is two imperfect people living together. So basic skills like conflict resolution, like using apologies. I always say that the first to complain is the recipient of the apology, right? So if I say, I don't like this thing you are doing, you don't say, I'm sorry, but you too, why did you? No. I don't like this thing you are doing. I'm the one that complain. So I own the apology. If you also have something about me, you will wait. Why are you saying it? Because I complained, right? Where were you? You should have said your own quickly before I said it. So if I'm the one that complained, you will honor my complaint, you will own it, apologize, and we take it from there. Then you go and write your own down. In 2 days' time or tomorrow, you will now say, excuse me, you did this. But if I say I don't like this, and that's the time you want to escalate yours, you have a problem. Again, you did something wrong. I complain, and then you want to complain about my method of complaining. If you have done something wrong, you have lost your right to worry about the method. You can't slap me and tell me how to cry. I mean, you slap me and say, I slapped you, but cry this way.
Cry small.
Cry small. You can't do that. If you slap me, I'm going to cry. You got to take my cry, right? So those are basic, general intelligence that we have to bring into how we relate with each other and how we handle complexity. But I do believe marriage is fantastic. It's a sweet thing. I don't have a perfect marriage, I have to say. The comfort is that none exists. The best actors are not in Nollywood. You and I know that. They are definitely not in Hollywood. You know where they are?
Where are they?
2 places: marriages and churches. That's where you have the best actors. People are masters of masking frustration, pretending to be happy. Maybe it's necessary at times because there's a level of acting you have to be capable of to live through the diversity of the human condition. So at that level, it's not deception, it's necessity. So I say to people, you can't, if you insist that it's only through perfect behavior that you are going to have peace in life or in marriage, you will never have peace. Because the person that can supply perfect behavior has never been born and will never be born. So on your husband's best day, he's going to disappoint you. On your best day, you disappoint your husband. Your real strength is not in trying to avoid that day. It's preparation and strategy to deal with that day. You don't outgrow crisis. You don't outgrow warfare. You learn to fight. So these are basic general intelligence that we have to submit ourselves to. The idea that your husband is not perfect, you are not perfect. Somehow, human beings are amazing. We have the capacity to tolerate our own imperfection. We just can't endure that of others. And in marriage, you can't escape that. There'll be good flashes of your husband's imperfection, good flashes of your own imperfection. So the real maturity is the ability to find tranquility and peace and love in spite of that. I believe in love. I think it's an experience everybody should have. And I define love at the highest level as eliminating fear around you, because perfect love casts out fear. And when you can eliminate fear around you, right, you will love at the highest level. And I believe in giving, and giving is not, about doing what profits you. Giving is empowering a world beyond the one you own, beyond the one you know. So giving is about the other person every time. It's not about you. So if we live like that with the commitment to serve, so what have I said? Loving, giving, and serving. That's your basic humanity. That's what no animal can do. No dog, no lion, no other species in the world can do those 3 things. Loving, giving, and serving. What does it mean to love? To eliminate fear around you. What does it mean to give? To empower a world beyond the one you own. What does it mean to serve? To solve demonstrable human problems for everybody around you. And once you make that your commitment as a human being, you will have a successful marriage. Not a perfect one,
but a successful one.
But a successful one. In that you'll be able to forgive, right? You cannot be anything in marriage if you are not masterful in forgiving and looking away. And if you can't look away and you have to see everything and mark everything, you will be frustrated in marriage, right? And I say to people, practice delayed response as well. I mean, those are the things that help imperfection to blend, right? You have to be able to look away and you have to be able to forgive, because if it is sure, if death is sure, what kind of person ought you to be? Preparation and strategy. If disappointment is sure, then preparation and strategy. If loss is sure, if betrayal is sure, disloyalty is sure, preparation and strategy. I think that's what we have to do, and we'll be fine.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been, I have to clap for you. Thank you. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Thank you for your time. Thank you for squeezing me in your very busy schedule and just pouring out so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching as well. I'm sure that you gained a whole lot like I did. I'm going to watch it as well and also drop a comment. I will send you the link to watch as well.
So that we can share with our community too. and people can take some part of that to their private
Definitely.
homes.
All right. Bye-bye.